Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we review a Buffalo Trace staple of a whiskey, and that is Elmer T Single Barrel. Run the video. Alright then folks, let's get into today's video, shall we? Don't forget to like and comment down below if you've been able to try to find or try Elmer T. What did you think about it? How was it? If you agree with today's score and ratings, which we'll get to at the end there. So, I wanted to review Elmer T. because, truthfully, I've probably thrown a lot of shade on this whiskey in the last couple of months. Every time I've had to try Elmer T, I've been a little bit unimpressed. And on today's episode, we're going to take a deep dive into Elmer T Single Barrel. We're going to pick it apart as best we can. We're going to bring up some flavor profiles and talk a little bit about the bottle there as well. So, Elmer T is a pretty hard bottle to find. MSRP on this guy is actually like $40 to $60. It's quite a cheap bottle, but nevertheless highly allocated and very difficult to find. A lot of people try to find these bottles. So the bottle itself, it's nothing special. It's a pretty cool square bottle there as well. The cork, yes, it is a real cork, but it's super like plastic and cheap. It's a really unimpressive cork if that's anything to go by when reviewing whiskey. The bottle's pretty solid. The label's pretty cool. It's got a picture and of Elmer T on the back there as well. Nice black and gold label and some really nice gold writing. I don't know what it is with gold writing on bourbon bottles for me. I like it a lot. It just makes it a little bit more classy, I get. So, what are we drinking Elmer T in today? We're drinking in this glass, part of the Whiskey Cove's premium collection. Check out down below the description to get over to the website or the website address, thewhiskeycove.square.site, and you can go over there and buy some premium glassware for cheap. Yes, I continue to push the glassware because it's just worth it and helps support the channel. So thank you to everybody. So thank you to all the people who've purchased glasses so far. I really appreciate it. With that being said, let's get this whiskey into the glass. So yes, as I said, Elmer T whiskey is a single barrel product, but for the most part, the single barrels that I've tried, the two that I've tried, have been pretty similar for the most part. ABV is 45% ABV or 90 proof, so not high at all. This is one of Buffalo Trace's undisclosed mash bills. So we have two different mash bills there as well. They're both kind of undisclosed, so take your best guess of which one this is there. And then also as well, you kind of have like a holograph of Elmer T in the back. You can't quite see it. If the bottle was empty, it's on like the front of the sticker there as well. It's kind of what they do with like their George T Stag bottles there as well. You kind of see a holograph of a person at the back there as well. So looking at the whiskey here, it's quite light, as you would expect from a 45% ABV whiskey. Almost like golden hay color. Maybe like has like shades of maybe like an amber ale. No, I would say it's a little bit lighter than that. Yeah, I would say more like a golden hay color. How it sits in the glass, she's a little thin, as I was expecting in the glass. That's not a knock necessarily, but it does look a little bit thin. Doesn't do so well at clinging to the glass there as well. However, let's go in for a taste, or let's actually first go in for a nose here on Elmer T. So I'm definitely getting like some green, bright, fresh, juicy green apples. And there's definitely some touches of vanilla there as well. Not really any spice. Not really any heat. It's just a little bit on the flat side there as well. I bought this from a local store here for around $50. I'll be honest, like I said, it's just a little bit flat. You're really struggling to pick out the notes there as well. Like I said, you get a lot of green apple, not really any spice, just like a bunch of different vanillas there as well. Like a fresh ice cream vanilla, or maybe like an ice cream frost in there as well. Not really any caramel fruitiness, maybe a little bit of red berry if you're lucky, like some of that typical Buffalo Trace cherry if you like. Cool, let's go in for a taste. This is Elmer T. So, first up, as I taste them, mouthfeel, no heat on the mouth whatsoever in the beginning. As it's sitting on that palate, as you're drinking it in, It tastes a little thin. It's not too oily. It's a very thin bourbon, but there's not much heat on the front end. You do get like a little bit of sweetness there as well, and those vanillas carry through. But interestingly enough, the sweetness just peaks and then kind of just goes away really fast, and then kind of just nothing happens for a little bit. And then there is a little bit of spice on the back end there, some of those baking spices. Definitely get a touch of cinnamon there as well, maybe nutmeg if I'm pushing for it there, and a little bit like a oaky backbone, a little bit of that there as well. Let's go in for another taste, see if we can pick apart this Elmer T anymore. First off, even for a 45% ABV whiskey, which is on the lower side anyway, this is just super drinkable. It reminds me of a Basil Hayden's, just how easy it is to drink. If you have Elmer T kicking around and you have a beginner whiskey drinker coming over, by all means share it with them. I think they might actually be able to palate this because it's very palatable. And not in a good way if you're someone who likes a lot of activity on their whiskey. After a while on the finish, there is a little bit more heat coming from that spice, and there is a little bit more of a Kentucky hug there. It just reminds you that you are drinking a whiskey. But again, there's not too much of a mouthfeel going on there. It's very thin even on the finish. There might be like a touch of like a wood presence there, maybe like a cedar wood. Nothing too sharp though, and then maybe a little bit of leather, but I'm absolutely pulling straws, and I'm just trying to dial into my flavor profile playbook and just trying to pull out as much as I can. If you're someone who's not able to pull out much flavors from a whiskey, and it's taken me a while to be able to identify flavors, you might have a hard time identifying flavors in this whiskey. So, like I said in the beginning, I've been throwing a lot of shade on Elmer T lately. I just think it's not worth the hunt, it's not worth the hype, and it's not worth the incredible values that some folks buy them for or sell them for on the internet. However, you have to take into consideration what Buffalo Trace actually has control over. Like I said, the MSRP on this is around $40–50, which is a little bit on the cheaper side. What can you get for that? Like Eagle Rare 10 is probably around the same sort of price there as well. Thinking of like something from Heaven Hill, what can you get for that price? Maybe Heaven Hill 7. I probably would take the Heaven Hill 7 over this if it wasn't for just it being Elmer T. And again, disclosure, this is a single barrel. I've tried 2 single barrels and they've all been pretty tame. So if there's folks out there that feel like they've had a hater of a barrel when it comes to Elmer T, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know. However, this whiskey is just not doing it for me today. So what we'd like to do in this channel, if you don't already know, we'd like to give it a rating in terms of value for money. So A through F, A being the best, F being the worst. And then we'd like to give it a score out of 100. So value for money at a $40–50 MSRP, I'm gonna give this a C. I don't think it's great value for money. I would rather spend that same amount of money on a bottle of Weller 12 or Weller Antique 107. Yes, that is a wheated bourbon, and it is still made by Buffalo Trace, but it kind of puts this to shame. I would probably have an Eagle Rare 10 for $35 and buy a smoke or a cigar or something like that instead. I would definitely put my money towards something else. The only reason I'm not dinging it too much on the price is just because it is still $45–50, which isn't too much money for Elmer T and Buffalo Trace. But maybe I'm reading too much into the story as opposed to value for money, but I still think that's decent value for money for a single barrel product, at least there as well. So, score of 100. Score of 100 for Elmer T. So, right off the bat, this is probably the most disappointing Buffalo Trace whiskey that I've ever had. There's always going to be 1 or 2 from a distillery anyway, and that's just because Buffalo Trace do such a good job at setting such high standards, high consistent standards across the board. This is kind of like ancient age genre of whiskey, not even ancient age, just ancient age. I might get a lot of heat for this, but the rating is not going to be high in this. It's going to be lower than low, I think. I need to try it once more just to make sure we get this right. We drunk everything in the glass at this point. I'm gonna give it a 27 out of 100. Yes, that is pretty low because I can only rate the whiskey that's in front of me. And I try my absolute best, folks, for you people at home to give you as honest as reviews as I can. And if I give this any more than that, then I'm just not being honest, and I'm just pretending just because it's a Buffalo Trace product or just because it's Elmer T, and that would be doing everybody a disservice. So that's the score that I'm going to give it. I hope you enjoyed today's review. And I wanted to get into this bottle. I wanted to do a review so much because I was hoping maybe outside of a blind or a head-to-head, it would be able to be a little bit better, or maybe there was some nuancing notes that I was able to pick extra, but there wasn't really today. It was just so flat, so underwhelming, and there's not much more I can say about it. Elmer T, low score. So if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button and comment down below with your thoughts of Elmer T if you've been able to try it, as we drink through the world's whiskey. Not that one. One glass at a time. Cheers.